going on? Is Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Hopefully you're all doing well. Sending some positive vibes if you need them right now. Everything going on in the world. Let me provide a little escape for you guys here in Raid Shadow Legends. So today I'm in a good mood. We're talking about rare champions. Now, I made a video. If you clicked on this video, looking for the best rares in the game, rares you should 6-star, no questions asked. Bad news, it's not this video. That's not this video. This video is about really good serviceable rares that might just not last you very long in the game. So why invest all the way to 6 stars on this champion? Save your food, save your chicken, save your time, your resources, everything, and just get some utility out of these rares, whether it be faction wars or a little niche area in the game, and just use them at level 50, right? They're really good just at level 50. You can get that same utility, but saving yourself the resources to upgrade, probably better options that this game will inevitably hand you over the next, few months, right? So again, why invest 6-star these champions that maybe we did recommend 6-starring, I don't know, just a year or two ago? Things have changed a little bit thanks to power creep and thanks to Plarium not really adding that many compelling rares into the game. However, there are a couple exceptions, a few new champions on this list as well. So let's start out with one of the Shadowkin. And this is a guy who can help out a lot of you right now because of Shadowkin faction wars. It is Odachi.
Odachi.
You guys really let me have it for calling this dude Odachi in the past. I apologize, but listen, I've learned from my mistakes.
Odachi.
No matter what you call this dude, first of all, he looks really cool, especially for a rare champion, and he's solid, man. He has a provoke on his A1, damage based on defense, so easier to keep alive. His base defense is pretty solid. He's got a shield on himself, equal 20% of his max HP with an AoE attack on the A2. And in the A3, we get block debuffs for 1 turn, and an increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, so I would book him up still. But you don't need to take him past level 50. You can get a lot of utility out of this guy. Block debuffs is one of the best buffs to have in the game, so you get that for faction wars. And then the increased defense, it's a small version, but it is on a 3-turn cooldown. And again, as I mentioned, it's pretty easy to keep alive, so certainly worth your investment for faction wars, if nothing else, up to level 50 if you're looking for solid options for the Shadowkin Crypt. Next up is going to be a Sacred Order champion, an oldie, but a pretty goodie.
It's my first time here, I gotta say, my first time.
First timer.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not even that old. He's kind of new. My bad. So the next one is an oldie but goodie. I promise you guys. Actually, another newish champion. It's Castigator. He is a Sacred Order rare champion, magic affinity. On his A1, he has a provoke again. This time, damage again based on HP. You'll notice a lot of damage based on defense or HP rares on this list because rares can be pretty squishy, pretty fragile. So it's a little bit easier to kind of build them, especially at level 50 to keep them alive, right? On the A2, we get the heal the ally with lowest HP by 20%. This champion's max HP. So has a pretty good heal, pretty big heal. He has 19k base HP. That's a lot for a rare. Then equalizes the HP levels of all allies and then grants this champion an extra turn all on a 4-turn cooldown. This is actually an insane ability. This is really an epic-esque ability. The equalizing max HP of all allies is a massive heal in this, and you get in this game, and you get an extra turn on top of that. Receive 15% less damage from enemies under provoke debuffs, again, which he has on the A1. So again, a really solid champion to take to 5 stars. Next up, my old school, one of my favorites, man. I should do a guide on this champion because, boy, he's not getting enough love. It's Grinner, man.
Absolutely love her when she's... I'm really happy today.
Grinner from the Undead Horde. On his A1, increase attack buff on all allies. 25% chance, but nice to have on the A1. On the A2, an AoE has a 50% chance to win booked on a 3-turn cooldown, removing 1 random buff from each target. Not a bad ability on shock, but really, it's unbury. Literally, on his A3, a 4-turn cooldown, which is exactly what we look for even out of epic champions on a single target revive. Revives any ally with 50% HP, place a shield on the revived champion for 2 turns, equal to 20% of their max HP. So they get half their HP back, they get a shield to help protect them as well. Time for your healer to come back in and heal them up. But Unbury is actually a really solid revival, and there's only like 3 or 4 good revive or decent revivers anyway out of all the rare champions champions inside the entire game. Another one coming up very shortly here. So Grinner, definitely a solid champion. He's very fast too. 110 base speed. Wow, that's a fast reviver there for a rare champion. Nothing bad to say about Grinner, especially if you're looking for a reviver really anywhere in the game, right? Next one is going to be Renegade, man. I mentioned Renegade in my top rares in the game video as a Renegade's not on the list because you can use her at 5 stars. You don't need to pick her 6 stars, right? You can, of course. But you'll see some of the best players in the world, some of the fastest teams on Doom Tower or wherever using Renegade at 5 stars, even unascended, because it's really about this A3. Decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns. That's all you need to know about it, right? It's kind of a mini Kymar ability, helping everybody else do what they do best more often, right? So Renegade, definitely usable, even at 5 stars. She's a champion that's really, really good, kind of unique, very unique in the game, and a champion that I feel like almost all players should take to at least 5 stars. Why not have her? Even if you've got a Kymar, it's still nice to have a Renegade on your squad. All right, next up is going to be a Skinwalker, another oldie but goodie here. Mentioned him before on the channel, but it's Gnarlhorn. Gnarlhorn is a really, really solid champion that not a lot of people talk about. On his A1, whatever. Ow! A2, it gets better on his A2. On his A2, plays a provoke debuff on all enemies, guaranteed provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. Okay, also has increased defense on himself. So already I'm liking this kit. Guaranteed provoke on all enemies for 1 turn on a 3-turn. On the A3, look at this, perfect! We get an unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So 2 out of every 3 turns, he's unkillable, and he's provoking everybody, and he's got a great defense in dungeons by 27%, a great aura lead for your team as well. This is a champion that I absolutely would not hesitate taking to 5 stars in the early game especially, and just using him as kind of my dungeon aura lead and my tank for my team, helping us clear waves with the provoke and the unkillable. So definitely a really solid option there, guys. Talking about solid options, man, I really, really like Gear Grinder. Gear Grinder is a simple champion, man. He's got a lot of HP. He's an HP-based champion. On his A2, he's got a decent heal. I'm not gonna say solid, an average heal on a 3-turn cooldown. And then on his A3, revives a dead ally, 50% HP, and unlike Grinner, he's gonna give him a little turn meter as well, right? 50% turn meter. I actually use Gear Grinder in a shield set, kind of serve extra utility. He's healing, he's shielding, and he's reviving as well. I also use him for a couple of the Doom Tower rare-only secret rooms, even in the end game. So definitely a champion worth looking at.
Look at me now. Look at me now. Oh.
If you're looking for, again, a reviver, there's not that many of them out there. Reliquary Tender, obviously we talked about Grinner, we talked about who we just Gear Grinder, there we go. So who else is there? I think there's one more I'm forgetting, but there's only like 3 or 4 rares that are even decent revivers at all. All right, next up is going to be, let's go with Banshee, guys. Banshee, AoE on the A1, AoE on the A2. We're removing a buff on the A2. On the A1, we're placing decreased defense. On the A3, 2 times at random with block active skills. Block active skills is actually very difficult to find. I don't think there's really many rares at all who have it. Maybe a couple, that's it. And she has it on her A3, which is nice on a 3-turn cooldown. But what's even nicer is 2 AoE attacks. So if you're struggling maybe earlier mid-game in Undead Horde Faction Wars, just put her in a stun set. If you wanted to, you can even shut down that A3 and she'll just be AoE stunning, AoE stunning, AoE stunning, and bring a little bit more to the table as well. So definitely a champion worth looking out for. She is slow and her base stats are a little bit more squishy than some of the other champions we talked about, but I overall think that Banshee is a very solid option. You'll see her being used as well in some of those secret rooms of Doom Tower Hard as well, even by endgame players going for her. All right, next up is going to be a campaign farmable champion. I think one of the only ones that we have on today's list, and she's also a demon spawn champion, is Diabolist, man. I mentioned her before, a very fast champion, decent base stats. If you don't have a champion like Apothecary yet, if you don't have High Katoon yet, and you're looking for an increased speed champion, she's got it, and again, you can get her on stage 12 in the campaign. Very easy for everybody to get Diabolist. She actually puts out a decent amount of damage as well. She has an AoE with increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. So all allies get increased speed, and you get a decent AoE attack as well. And then on positive charge, it just keeps getting better. We fill a turn meter of all allies, decrease turn meter of all enemies. A very, very good control champion. It helps kind of increase the pace on her A2 and her A3 of all your allies. So very, very good champion that you can just get right from campaign. Easy to book up. You can just get dupes of her and just keep booking her. Get her easily booked in up to 50, no problemo. All right, 2 more left, guys. One is going to be a Knight Revenant. Now, listen, guys, I probably could have made this 20 champions because there's a lot of good champions. You know, you could run Coffin Smasher. I'm just looking here. There's quite a bit, but I did want to shine a light on Acolyte real quickly here. So, Force Affinity, Knight Revenant champion, kind of has the same armor that I feel like half the Knight Revenants have, right?
Budget reasons.
We have fills turn meter by 25% on the A1, not bad. Damage based on attack, but a very healthy amount of defense on this champion as well. We have and make it a 85%, 90% chance, excuse me, of decreasing target's turn meter by 50% on the A2. So 50% turn meter reduction, really handy against the Spider, against the Ice Golem, against the Fire Knight, especially in the early game, right? And then on the A3, removes all debuffs from all allies. So you're getting a full cleanse on a 4-turn cooldown. Now, in a perfect world, this would be on a 3-turn cooldown, maybe and have a little something extra on it, but I feel like it rounds out kind of an underrated kit. Easy to keep this champion alive, kind of a common theme, and then an ability that not many champions have, a full cleanse on a rare champion, hard to find, and a decent overall kind of supporting kit as well. So Acolyte can definitely do a lot worse. A good champion to help you get through Knights Revenant faction wars as well. And last but not least is a champion that I just can't leave off the list, man. I can't get away from Valkyrie. She's a really good rare champion, man. Decent defense, all right HP. She has ally HP and faction crypt, so good for faction wars. On her A1, what an ability, swing! I mean, what else can you ask for, guys? Attacks one enemy.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
On the A2, it gets better, I promise. This energizing presence is a very underrated ability. Increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. Decrease the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. Places an increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. All on a 3-turn. Let me just read that again and just tell you why this is such an insane ability for a rare champion. First, there's no rare champion who has an ability like this. First of all, there's only a couple epics who have an ability like this, where we're increasing the duration of all buffs on all allies. So increased defense, usually it's a 2-turn cooldown. It's going to extend it to a 3-turn cooldown. So it's going to be basically always up on all your allies. Same thing with, block debuffs. It will extend that by 1 turn. That has a profound overall effect on your team. Forget strengthen, ally protect. It's all working on those buffs. So we're extending everything to last 1 turn longer. And keep in mind, again, the strongest buffs in this game, they're usually 1 turn less than the cooldown. So it's bringing them up to be the same as the cooldown. You understand what I'm saying, guys? Also decrease the duration of debuffs by 1 turn. Half the time, this might be just totally cleansing debuffs if they're only up for 1 turn on your allies. So if they have a stun, could be removing that as long as she goes before that champion, obviously. And then we get increased attack on top of all that. Not bad at all. On her A3, she has a shield on all allies. The value of the shield depends on her level. Heals according to the number of buffs they're currently under as well. So you get a shield, then you get a heal. Granted on a 5-turn cooldown, we're definitely looking for like a 3 or a 4-turn cooldown. But overall, Valkyrie there's much more than kind of meets the eye in this champion. A very, very solid support champion that I would definitely not hesitate taking to level 50. So there you go, guys. That is 10 rare champions that I would take to level 50 because they're great and they can help you out, albeit maybe for a short time before you have a better replacement on some of these champions, depending on who you're lucky enough to pull or unlucky enough not to pull, and forgive the double negatives. I'll just end the video before I get myself in trouble, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.